One phrase that I've always had a bit of a pet peeve with is finding your own truth because I feel like it fundamentally goes against what truth is. Because to me, truth is not something that someone owns, right? Like that's not something, there's no such thing as your truth in the sense of, oh, well, my truth is different from your truth. It's like, no, no, no. Now, I do believe that everyone can find their own perspective on things, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily true in the traditional sense. Like I'm never like to say, oh, I'm finding my truth. I'm finding my own way, but I'm not finding my own truth. Because to me, truth is not something that's owned by someone or someone else, right? So like if I walk up to someone and slap them, right? That doesn't mean that, well, this is my truth and I own this. No, this is an event that happened that is not depended on who or what happened. Like it just happened. Like what I like to say, because people say the truth is subjective. I think that's a ridiculous claim. Because here's the thing, even when you say the truth is subjective, you are making a objective truth statement. You're saying that this is true fundamentally, that it's all subjective. But that kind of contradicts itself because fundamentally, you just said a subjective claim, but if it's subjective, I can subjectively say no to your claim. You see how we get into the rabbit hole? I like to rather say that everyone has their own perspective because perspective can be nuanced. Perspective can be of many things, right? You know, just because I called someone a mad name, like I call them a dum dum, right? That is a reality that happened. However, how the person perceives that, that's completely dependent on the person. So to the person I called a dum dum, from their perspective, I look like a dirt bag and I look like a guy who's just very, very mean, right? But maybe someone who watched the event, their perspective is, oh, Alma was right. This person is a dum dum. Now, the perspectives are all different, but the event that happened is completely different, or I mean, completely the same. I never liked the phrase find your own truth because I think we can find our own way, but truth stays as is. Like, I don't believe in that nonsense. Oh, well, you know, truth doesn't really exist because people who say truth doesn't really exist, they rely on you to believe them. And by relying on you to believe them, you basically they rely on you to believe it's true. Truth is an inescapable concept of the universe that people have to be willing to accept, in my opinion. Because whether you believe in God or you don't believe in God, I think we are all subjugated under the God of truth. Whether it be a literal God like Jesus, or it's a figurative God, as in the reality of the world is that we were created from nothingness and there's no creator, right? But I don't like that phrase because I feel like when we say find your own truth, it kind of decenters us away from reality and makes it seem like reality is all to our liking. How we perceive reality is all to our liking, but that doesn't change what reality is. Like, even if we live in a simulation, that doesn't mean that there is no objective reality. It just means that we're not in the objective reality. But somewhere behind the simulation, there is an objective reality. But I think it's much better to say, I'm finding my own passion. I'm finding me. I'm trying to understand who I am. Rather, like maybe how I would change the phrase is maybe find the truth of yourself or the truth regarding your own self. But like I would say find your own truth because when you say your own truth, it kind of implies that that truth is completely owned by you, but finding the truth of yourself kind of changes it to, okay, I'm finding out what I really am. And I know it's such semantics, but I've never liked the phrase because I don't like a world where we just make up stuff and we call everything subjective. Because if everything is subjective, then there's no reason to fight for anything because it really doesn't matter because you can make reality whatever you want. And people who say that stuff, I don't think they believe that because if I do something horrible to them, they're not going to be like, well, subjectively, you saw it as moral, and well, subjectively, I see it's bad. No, you're going to call it bad. You're not going to start arguing philosophy. You're going to say, hey, he should go to jail, or hey, he should face some kind of repercussion for hurting me. So don't try to find your truth. I would say find out the truth about yourself, but I don't believe truth is ever something someone possesses. Even secrets. I think secrets at the end of the day, sure, you may have your own secrets, but the reality is that thing did happen and you don't really truly own it. You just are the only one who knows it. But anyways, not my typical video, but I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I'll talk to you guys soon.